What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to look at the concerns that people are having for Forspoken. I felt that this would probably be a pretty fun video to do about 2 weeks or so before the game comes out. And so what we're going to do is we're going to look at the specifics of what people have been, talking about. I'm going to leave the combat and even the movement, even Frey's movement, I'm going to leave that aside because I do actually think those are going to be the two strongest elements of the game. And even the demo, I think, pretty much backed that. Even as people started to experience the demo more and more, they kind of found like things that the demo wasn't even telling them how to move and how to fight. I think it's going to be honestly a really, and I've always said this, I think the combat is going to be the main positive that this game has. So I want to take a look at the other side of things and kind of talk about story, character, stuff like that. And of course, you're free to talk about whatever you want in the comments. Let me know what you think about this game. But let's talk about the story first. And this is important, and really all these points I think have the potential to really, move the game one way or the other in terms of really good or really bad. But the story, they describe this game as a narrative-driven adventure. So the narrative, I do think, based off that wording or that phrase, it is going to be extremely important. And I've always been kind of up in the air when it comes to the story. So I want to take a look at two specific people. There were more of them, but this whole thing kind of started, the game's writing basically started with Amy Hennig, Gary Whitta, and a few others. And the reason I bring those two up specifically is I think they're immensely talented. I think they're very, very talented people. But eventually it kind of got away from them, right? So they set the foundation, or maybe even parts of the foundation of this game, but not the entire thing. So, the full-on package of this game was kind of given off and to other people to kind of fill in the gaps. So I've always been pretty open with, the story does, in my opinion, seem fine from the trailers that we've seen in terms of the setup and how Frey gets there and what she's doing. That all seems fine. We'll have to see how the entire thing progresses when the game happens. And it's again, also why I haven't really docked anything, let's say, in my head based off of the demo, because the demo, from a story perspective at least, right? From a story perspective, you don't get much from that. So the story, I do think, is a point of concern, mainly because it's going to be maybe the biggest thing. Yes, you can make an argument for anything. The combat probably is a gigantic thing in this game, right, as well. So not just the writing for the story, but how about the writing for the characters? And that's another thing I think that have made people feel very uneven when it comes to this game, because the writing, I will say, the writing has not been very good in the limited times we've seen it. And more importantly, because it's open world, because it's a narrative-driven game, there's going to be a lot of talking, between just Frey herself, between all these different AIs that we're going to meet across the world. There's a lot of dialogue, you imagine, back and forth, monologue kind of stuff. And then, of course, the plot of the game. There's going to be a lot of talking. So far, I would say probably not so good. But again, it's in limited, situations, I guess, that we've heard it. And the demo, again, doesn't necessarily help us out. There's not too much talking that goes on in the demo. So again, we'll have to see on that one. And now the third and probably final point in terms of concern would be the open world. And I think this was kind of elevated and brought to the forefront with the demo, because I think a lot of people were scared off, and maybe rightfully so, because of the open world of this game. And, there's comparisons made to Horizon. I get, maybe I've seen some people say, you can't necessarily compare it to Horizon. I just think, I'm not even talking about having it be like a one-to-one, literally looking at Horizon, then looking at this. I just think when you think of PlayStation, I think the reason why people bring this up, when you think of PlayStation and then you think of their most recent games, and you think of games that are comparables, open world, you think to Horizon. And I will say that is something that's very much scared me about Forspoken, including in the demo, is the world is just not filled. Now, again, that's a demo. Things can change. Things probably will change. But it is an incredibly important aspect of this game, right? You can go too hard. There can be too many things that are happening in an open world at any given time. And then there can also be absolutely nothing. But it's going to be interesting because, again, you think to the story and the characters, those things are pretty darn important to pretty much any game. But also you have the other side of things, right? That's the narrative side. Then you have the gameplay side. And we think to the combat and stuff, and I do think the combat's going to be good. But then you think, well, how often are we going to use these things? And, it does seem like a big part of this game is the movement, literally jumping around and parkouring. And it does look really cool. And I think it feels pretty good as well when you're actually playing it in the demo. But then the thing is that all this game is? Is it just an open world with nothing to do in it, and you're just getting, by the way, not literally nothing, right? If you play the demo, you do know there's a couple things to do here and there, but is it just going to be moving from point A to point B? And the movement's fun, and getting from point A to point B is fun, but there's nothing to do in between, right? Because then that kind of hurts the combat side. It's like, well, the combat's good, but there's really no place to use it. So, yes, it's a lot. I mean, there's a lot of people that are concerned. There's a lot of things to be concerned about, and I think it really boils down to literally the world, the open world nature. Is it going to be filled? Is it going to feel lived in any sense? Is there going to be enough things to do? And then also the characters, including even the main character, and the story, which is a lot of the game. I mean, it just doesn't include the combat, like I said earlier, because I do think that's kind of safe. So it can go either way. I've said that kind of before. I think maybe like half the things, I know there's 3 things, but maybe half the things go good, half the things go bad, and you're left with maybe an above average game, maybe an average game, maybe slightly below average. I mean, we'll see. But again, why I thought this would be a fun video to do, we are just about 2 weeks away. So we're going to find the answers to these things extremely soon. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure you guys are subscribed, bell icon turned on, and I'll see you all on the next one.